Do you know that you are vibrational beings more than you are anything else? You are so good at interpreting vibration that you see this time-space reality around you, and it has convinced you in your interpretation of it that this is the real world, this world that I can see and hear and taste and smell and touch. This is the real world. And we want you to know that while you are interpreting with all of those senses, that you are interpreting on many vibrational levels of your being. Vibrations abound all around you, and you are the attractor of the vibrations that abound. Now, many argue with that. They say, no, Abraham, I walk into a room and what's there is what I get. And we say, well, have you ever been an eyewitness to something that someone else was an eyewitness to and discovered when you read the reports that you saw very different things, even though you thought you were looking at the same thing? Because who you are and what you believe while you are witnessing it completely colors the way you interpret whatever it is that you see. And if that's true with what you see and hear, have you ever been with a dog who perks up and you say, stop it? But the dog is responding to something vivid that it hears or smells. The other day, Jerry and Esther were in a campground, and a man walked by with a beautiful dog. And as they walked by, the dog turned around and looked in the direction of Esther, could not seem to take its eyes off of Esther. And Esther was so flattered. Esther thought, oh, that dog sees energy. And that dog who's tuned in, tapped in, turned on, knows the beauty of my vibrational being. And then Esther got a whiff of what the dog had smelled before her. Someone was emptying their sewer down the way, and the dog smelled it 15 seconds before Esther did. Dogs smell things you can't smell. Dogs smell things you don't want to smell. They interpret differently than you do. Same environment, different depths of interpretation. There are people who can hear things that you can't hear. There are animals that can hear things that you can't hear. You are all, whether you are beast or human or molecule, you are all vibrating beings and sensual, sensitive beings. But you have levels of interpretation that go far beyond your physical senses. And what they are vibrational interpretations. You get impulses to move or impulses to consider. You get impulses that you're picking up from all around you. But this is always true. You never receive an impulse or an experience that is a departure from your vibrational countenance. In other words, you train yourself by living in your environment into your habits of vibrations. And your habits of vibrations are what your beliefs and expectations really are. So, without meaning to, most humans have allowed their environment to train them into patterns of expectation that serve you in many cases and hinder you in others. And this gathering is about learning to utilize your guidance system in order to understand what you're receiving and whether it is beneficial to who you are, who you have become, or whether it is detrimental. Whether focusing upon it causes you to allow the creation, or whether focusing upon it allows you to hinder the creation. It's fun to realize that you are vibrational beings. But before being a vibrational being in your physical body can be very meaningful to you, you have to understand that this physical part that you know as you, that all of your friends have identified through your countenance and your personality, is but a very small part of who you really are. Because while you are in this physical body, there is a larger part of you that is source energy, vibration, non-physical. And that part of you, man has been calling it soul. Sometimes man calls it source or God. But that non-physical part of you is by far and away the larger, dominant part of you. And that part of you knows your well-being. That part of you has been accumulating since the beginning of your existence, and that's so far back we couldn't even begin to define that for you. Since the beginning of your existence, that part of you has been garnering and gathering and focusing upon the very best that your life experience has been able to hone out. In other words, this source energy is a vibrational vortex of well-being that defies physical human description. We just can't give it words, but sometimes your physical senses feel it, and you recognize it as love or appreciation or joy. Those moments of exhilaration are the best interpretation that you ever are able to utilize in order to define this vortex of well-being that really explains who you are. So in those moments that sometimes flash in your experience, where you feel that exhilaration, where you feel that feeling of at oneness, when you feel that satisfaction that is so warm and beautiful that it is like a hug of loves or appreciation from the inside out, when you feel that rapture that you would maybe define with the words well-being, that's a moment when there's no resistance within your physical countenance and you've allowed a perfect blending between you and you. That perfect blending between you and you is what we call allowing. And the art of allowing is just figuring out how to do it. We're not trying to get you to hook up and stay there. You do that when you're only non-physically focused. But as long as you're here in this physical body, you've come with the purpose of exploring the contrast, because the contrast helps you and us to focus. When you know what you don't want, when you worry about your world ecology or your world economy or anything that is going on in your world, personal or broader, when you worry about it, you launch a request for the improvement that matches the degree to which you have worried. So those who worry a little ask for a little improvement. Those who worry in a big way ask for big improvement. And as billions of you are upon this planet in any moment of time, you are contributing mightily to this vortex of creation that future generations will spring forth from. That's why you don't need to worry about your planet petering out or about your world diminishing or about the bad parts of your world taking over. The bad parts of your world cannot take over because the best parts of your world are being synthesized from the mix. And the best parts of your world are going into the vibrational escrow, and Source is holding them, and new generations will be born from that pool of knowledge. That's why when the babies come forth, it takes you a long time to convince them that the world is bad, because they know the goodness of it when they get here, you see. So you don't need to worry about things going bad, because the well-being is the part that is captured. You sift around in the contrast to know what you don't want, but when you croak, everything that you knew that you didn't want ceases to be active because you're not focused upon it. Unless you've trained somebody else to focus upon it. First time we've said that, that's worth noting. In other words, when you know what you don't want, it's active in your vibration. But when you croak, it won't be. What will be active in your vibration then is what you do want as a result of knowing what you don't want. Do you follow that? So if you haven't passed on your opinion, your story, if you haven't made vivid movies and put up big monuments all over the place, oh, but wait, you've done that. So you are, without meaning to, you are passing on your bad experiences to future generations. But still no worry, because those future generations are well prepared for anything that you might dig up from your past and give them. And in your secular culture, you call that the generation gap. You say, oh, these kids, they just don't see it the way we see it. And we say, isn't that a nice thing? They don't see it the way you see it because you've trained yourself away from the well-being, in most cases, the longer you live. And the new ones coming in aren't having any of that, you see. So well-being abounds because the recycling of the human experience is seeing to it. New fresh ones are coming in, old cranky ones are croaking and leaving the mix of vibration, and those like you are tuning yourself before you croak into vibrational alignment with who you really are. And so Jerry and Esther's artist friend, or any of you who are now capturing in a deliberate way an understanding of what deliberate creating is, you understand that life is going to help you to define what you want, and that the inner being within you is going to say yes to that and hold it steady and call you toward it. And when you reach for the thought that allows you to move in the direction of it, you're going to feel good while you do it, and you're going to experience the culmination of that creation. But the culmination is not what it's about. It's the closing the gap. The fun of life is to expand because of your synthesizing of contrast and focusing something better out of it, and then focusing with deliberate determination in the direction of the better world. When you see something around your world that upsets you, you ask for something better. But if you continue to focus upon the problem, join the online chat groups, sign up for those newsletters, watch those television programs that are complaining about that issue relentlessly and endlessly on 24-hour news cycles, then what happens is, even though you have created something better, you are holding yourself apart from it. And you know what? That keeps you from being happy. You might say, but it didn't have anything to do with me. I launched that rocket about people who live on the other side of the world. And we say every rocket you launch has everything to do with you, because it is your creation. It is tied to you. It is part of who you are. You became a seer of a better world. And if you let the world that exists dissuade you from seeing the better world, it's not just not letting the better world come through your viewpoint faster that is at stake. It's your very own happiness. It's your very own health. It's your very own beingness, because you're not the creator of a better world. You're not the creator of a car or an empire. You're not the creator of a relationship only. You are the creator of you. You are the creator of you having those experiences. This vibrational reality is the precursor to everything that you know as a full-blown manifestations. So when life causes you to ask for an improvement, it becomes immediately, and all cooperative components are assembled. The question that we want to help you to discover within yourselves are you a cooperative component? Are you a cooperative component? So as Jerry leaves things in the car out of Esther's purse, or takes things out of her suitcase and doesn't get them back in, and Esther launches rockets of desire, I like to keep my things with me. I like to know where they are. I like them to be where I last left them. And it works both ways with them and all of you. As she launches those rockets of desire, law of attraction assembles all cooperative components. Now, if Esther looks at Jerry and announces to herself and to the world, and especially to him, that he is not a cooperative component of what she wants, then Esther is also not a cooperative component to what she wants. In other words, what she wants and what she's getting are vibrationally miles apart, because she's not a match to what she wants. Now, she could justify all day, every day, why she's not a vibrational match, but that is beside the point. And that's what we want you to hear. Of course, sometimes you feel utterly justified in your stance as you push against what you do not want. We just want you to know that every time you're doing it, every time you're talking about it, every time you're complaining about it, every time you're feeling negative emotion about it, you are an uncooperative component to what you do want. And as long as you remain, no matter how justified you are, everyone on the planet, we could take a vote, who's right, who's wrong, who's right, who's wrong. In this room, 50% would say Jerry's right, 50% would say Esther's right. Well, maybe not quite that. How many men are there? It's beside the point. It does not matter. It does not matter how justified you are in pointing out that something is not happening the way you want it to. You still are using it as your excuse not to be in the vortex. And we want you to understand that your work as a deliberate creator, your work as a deliberate creator, the only thing that you need to give conscious attention to is your relationship to this vortex, which contains all things that you've been asking for. We have enjoyed this immensely.